Hello, aspiring scientists, and welcome to another week of RPS at Home, Science Edition. Before we get started, I'd like to share a little holiday with you. In the nerdy world, today is known as May the 4th, or May the 4th be with you. Did you get it? May the 4th? May the 4th? Anyway, my name is Mr. Jackson, and I am a science teacher at Southampton Elementary School. For the next few weeks, we're going to be covering a new topic, so I thought I'd change it up a little bit and introduce some vocabulary to you. So, we are going to be covering ecosystems for the next couple weeks. So, my first question to you is, what is an ecosystem? An ecosystem is all the living and non-living components interacting in a specific place. So, here is a beautiful ecosystem. So the first thing I want you to observe is all the organisms. How many organisms or living things do you see in this picture? I see several. From what I see some mammals, these birds. I see some reptiles, this little turtle. I see some vascular plants, which means tube stem plants. There's some back here. There's some back there. And I see one non-vascular plant down here on the bottom. I see a little bit of moss down near this turtle, and every time I move the mouse, it disappears. So here's that same picture again. What was the other part of an ecosystem? All of the non-living components. And this is where it gets a little confused. You're thinking non-living. So what isn't living in this picture? The dirt, the rocks, the air, the water. How does all this work? Well, let's get into it. First, we'll start off with an idea of adaptations. And along with being a science teacher, I am a reading teacher, a math teacher, a STEM teacher, and probably 5 other things that I can't think of right now. So, one of the main skills that we use in science is reading. So here's a simple thing for you to do. I want you to find the word within the word. And right now, the word is adaptation. What do you see in the word adaptation? I see the word adapt. So, what does adapt mean? Adapt means change. So take this idea and put it back into the word. So, adaptations, or to adapt, is changes over time. Now, there's 2 specific types of adaptations that we will cover this week. Adaptations. We have 2 different types. We have structural adaptations and we have behavioral adaptations. So, structural adaptations. Let's use that trick I just taught you about finding the word within the word. The word for structural is structure. So what does structure mean? Structure means a building, how it's built. Another way to think of structural adaptations is physical movement. So when you think of a structural adaptation, think of how it's built and how it moves. Our next word is behavioral adaptations. So that trick again, what's the word in behavioral? Behave. And what does it mean to behave? It means how we act. So behavioral adaptations is how we act in certain situations. But remember, adaptations means change. So we change how we act or how we behave. So let's recap. Ecosystem, all the living and non-living components in a specific area. Organisms, living things. Adaptations, changes over time. Structural, physical, built, moving. Behavioral, behave. So let's get into it. What will we be doing this week? Uh-oh. Our first day is day one of Engage and Explore. So what do you see, what do you think, and what do you wonder about this picture? Looks like a boy I used to teach. What do you think about this picture? What we'll do is record our responses in our student journal. Next, we'll think about what we see from this video. Then we'll do a vocabulary review, and then there's an optional activity. So let's go to our student journal. Bloop. So, week 5, ecosystems. Our first part of ecosystems is structural and behavioral adaptation for plants and animals. Before we begin, please make a copy to get started. So all you do is click on File and make a copy. And then that way you can type right into your own version of this. So, what do you see? What do you think? And what do you wonder about this picture and that picture? Please take a moment to write down, what do you see? Do you see more than one structural adaptation? Think, what do you think they are used for? Wonder, what do they make you wonder or ask questions about? Next, what are the structural physical adaptations? How many do you see in 2 different pictures of bears? How did they get there? What are they for? Please take your keen sense of observation and jot down a few structural physical adaptations you see. How did they get there? What are they for? Next, let's watch a video about a guy sitting way too close to a bear. After you watch the video, are you possibly seeing behavioral adaptations? Now remember, behavior is behave or act. So how does the bear's behavior change? Think about that one for a while. Write down what you come up with. Something I've added this week is a vocabulary review. So please go back and think of what ecosystems means and write it down. What are organisms? What are adaptations? What are structural adaptations? And what are behavioral adaptations? Our last activity today is optional. Hopefully, you can go outside or look out the window and do some bird watching. What do I mean by bird watching? I want you to observe birds. Check out their color, their shape, and their size. Can you Google it and identify what type of bird it is? If not, here's a couple birds that live in Virginia. Try to draw your bird. My biggest thing here is see if you can guess what it eats by the shape of its beak. I hope you enjoyed today's lesson. I will see you Wednesday. Bye-bye.